then the retrograde jealousy just disappears on its own, or reduces, or it no longer is important. So it kind of leaves your life. So are you doubting your relationship? Are you feeling that something might be wrong, especially because of your partner's past? If so, it might be related to retroactive jealousy. Hi, this is Noemi. So let's talk about retroactive jealousy. If you're here, you probably know what it is. You know that it is not related to a current threat to a relationship. It is related to your perceptions of your partner's past, their past relationships, and either committed or maybe just casual. So all the images and intrusive thoughts are about what might have happened, what could have happened. Sometimes there's a lot of social comparison, that why would they love me, or why could they have loved them? Am I as good? Am I performing as well? Are they comparing me with them? Will they leave me as they left others, or will they leave me because I don't I'm not at the same standard, I don't measure up. Yeah, so there could be lots and lots of thoughts and questions and doubts and basically agony. And so the question is it a red flag to have retroactive jealousy? So one of the things that you might be asking yourself, should I get out of this relationship? Because it is so much pain that it's not worth it. And unfortunately, the answer is, if you're in a loving, supportive relationship where you have common goals, you have a common solid ground, you trust each other, you have committed to each other, and these are the two pillars of relationship, then you might be giving up on a solid relationship because of fears, and that's part of the problem. Yeah, so one part is you might actually miss out on something that would be wonderful. Now there is no, I don't believe in the myth of soulmate or anything like that. So basically, and it would be quite unfortunate if such things happen, because if somebody dies, then what? So you're destined for loneliness. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't. It's a childlike fantasy, and unfortunately, it can actually lead to a lot of anxiety and even depression if you entertain such ideas. But the but let's say you miss out on a relationship. You might find somebody else. But what actually happens with retro jealousy, it tends to repeat itself. Because the problem is not the other person and their past, uh, it usually, so you usually will end up recreating the same scenario. So you will find another person, you will fall in love, you realize that this is wonderful, you are compatible, you have compatible values, you have same goals in life, or similar enough to keep you together. So you might say, okay, let's make this a solid relationship. And then all of a sudden, after a few months, maybe after a few weeks, it can even be after a little bit longer, something happens, and the same fears and the same doubts resurface. So the problem with getting out of a relationship because of retroactive jealousy is that you will find yourself in another relationship with retroactive jealousy. Of course, you might say, well, relationships are just not for me. Uh, yeah, relationship is a choice. You can choose to be in a relationship, or you can choose to be alone. Either of them is equally valid, as long as it's done for the right reasons, as long as it's done because this is how I feel best. Yeah. So this is where I really thrive, rather than because relationships are painful. They are so painful. that I cannot withstand it. I cannot actually live with it. So giving up on relationships entirely is not the solution either, because that will be there. So it kind of, there will be at least a baseline level of stress. And by the way, we have a we have a way we go through life. Yeah, so and then if your level of stress is higher, if the baseline is higher than it should be, if you can never relax because there is always this pain, at least unconsciously there, then anything that comes gets you out, and you're more prone to uh, reactions that are more stressful, more engaged in the negative sense of the engagement. So I would really encourage you to solve the issue rather than to look for solutions to get out of the pain that are either temporary. So, for instance, a temporary solution people find is either to try to run away from it, or to actually engage with it, to some extent fight with it, stalking their partner or exes on social media, or thinking about this, or even going and to forums and spending a lot of time just talking about relationships and the pain. These things are not going to solve things. This can either cement in the problem and create the illusion that this is somehow a personality trait, that this is somehow part of who you are, and it's not. Or rather, it's not something that has to be, that you actually have choice. You have the possibility of overcoming this. It's not that some people are born for relationships and others aren't. It's that things happen to us. Is that we either have the abilities to deal with certain things, or negative things can happen. So you might have had a lot of relationships that broke down, or that somehow communicated with you that you will be rejected. You might have a rejection sensitivity. Yes, kind of, you when you feel rejected, then you have an immediate disproportionate um, reaction to it. By the way, this is actually, yeah, this correlates with this is related to retroactive jealousy, that people who feel that they would be rejected. So basically, rejection sensitivity would be when you feel and you expect that you would be rejected. So there is a disproportionate fear for rejection. So if you find yourself getting angry, or getting, yeah, it could be anger. It doesn't have to be fear, for instance, that somebody might arrive late, might actually say that um, they cancel something, or might have to go early, or just go. Yeah, look, you meet somebody and then you can't spend your whole life with them. You meet them in the cafe or the pub for half an hour or 2 hours or something. So if you have this anger, that could actually be a sign. Yeah, it could be a sign. It's not necessarily, but that can also, and of course, all this is not to put yourself into a box and say, that's who I am. It's to say, there are these patterns in my life, or behavioral patterns and emotional patterns that I have either picked up, or they were the way I survived, the way I adapted. Yeah, a lot of things that we believe are who we are just the way we adapted to situations in our life. And if you were fortunate, then you had very good attachment, you felt secure and safe, and you're thriving. if you haven't, you might actually be struggling with self-esteem, you might be struggling with insecurities, you might be struggling with fear of abandonment. But what I'm saying here is not who you are. It's not who you have to be. It's not how you have to go through life or how you have to soldier through somehow in relationships. It is something that can be overcome. It is something that is entirely malleable. Depending on what interventions you will choose, sometimes like a totally cognitive ones could take a while and they can take effort. There are others like the ones that I use, which brings in the unconscious, the subconscious element of who we are, then it can be quite fast. However, I will say that transformation is not a necessarily a delightful thing. So there are things that you go through, but at the end, when you come out of it, it is it is a transformation. You live life differently. You perceive yourself, you perceive relationships differently. It is absolutely possible. So, if you take anything away, then this is one thing I want to say that